person fulfill
Yeah.
their purpose.
So you know how earlier we were in the car and we were
Yeah.
talking about this whole wrestling aspect of between the flesh and the spirit, and like we're constantly at a tug of war. Why do we have to constantly wrestle and go in this deep state of mind? Why do men always have to do that? And why do men, like, we're in agony all the time, you know, searching for the truth, you know? Maybe from what I understand, Karlo, from, like I said, a short period of time I got to know you, you may sell yourself short saying, I don't have much to offer in this spiritual talk or philosophy world, but I think you do, because the type of questions that you ask, it just tells me a lot that you're a deep thinker. Like, and also, not to mention, you don't produce that kind of edit in your film without having that type of deep character, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you should know that. And then second, I think deep down, what you want to do is get to the level where you can find that truth, you know, hopefully it's in God. And then once you find that, you can guide other people who are equally struggling as you are. Maybe it's like a younger version of you, maybe, right? Or like some kid who had a financial crisis, or like some kid who grew up, I don't know, dealing with other things. I don't know, whatever it is, you know, that because you've been there and you understand that, you know. I don't know. I just see something like that, you know. What do you think about that?
Yes. Sometimes I feel like my the direction that I'm going at in life, there is like God influence in there.
Yeah.
For sure. Because for me, it's like I feel this like so much that without God, there's no way I'd be able to do it. I don't know why I feel that way.
Well, I think
feel that
in
way.
general, without God, all purpose means nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not everyone's gonna see it that way, obviously. But at least for me, meaning is everything when it comes to life. You know what I mean? Right? We don't do things for nothing, you know? Most of the time, even if we decide to do nothing, we're doing it for the sake of nothing. So that's something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't really like sit there and not exist, you know what I mean? Or like not think about things. I don't know, you know, personally I feel like, I don't know if we can truly like empty our minds like the Buddhists and whatever those monk people say. And I don't know if that's possible. I think that stuff always like tricks me up. Like,
how do they do that?
Is that really possible?
I wish I could do that sometimes.
It's like, are you sleeping while you're awake? What is that thing? You know what I mean? But anyway.
If that's possible, I wish I could do that.
Is that every man's dream? Do nothing, think nothing. You know.
Sometimes I wish I could turn my brain off to go to sleep, rest it a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Just
so anyway.
Perfect equilibrium. Like, yes, all is good in the world, but no, it's not. It's always like, oh, I gotta edit. Oh my God, is God real? How do I find out if he's real? Let's study physics to figure out if he's real or not.
And then
and then I gotta edit.
And then we're on the phone for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. But what a time to be alive, though, don't you think? Like, because we're living in a timeline where everything is essentially at the peak point. Knowledge, technology, science, philosophy, even in the realm of God. You know what I mean? Our understanding of theology, doctrine, etc. And yeah, it's a really exciting and confusing time to live in.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And that's why I decided to do this whole video thing, so that hopefully someone out there can see it and know that they're not the only one, you know, and there are people in this world that are real truth seekers, you know. You can go far and wide into many realms, many roads that tell you that it's gonna take you to the truth. But for me, I like to think that I tested just about every realm, almost every realm. Like, I went deep into pantheisms, to physics, to science, and different category of monotheistic views, to even polytheist, to ancient civilization theories, to Big Bang theory, evolution. I mean, you name it. Like just like simulation theory, multiverse, you name it. Like, I like to think that I went into many realms to see what they claim is really logical and if it makes sense. And for me, many of them contradict, and many of them eventually run into a dead wall. You know what I mean? And the fact that Bible tells me that Jesus claimed himself to be the truth. Like, there has never been a religion in any history that have claimed that a person, like a deity that came into a man form, who claimed that I am the way, I am the truth. There's none. And that right there it should raise a lot of alarm for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Many people think about Bible and Jesus, and they think there's like it's a fairy
I think
tale
it does
story.
that.
But many people still now, even a lot of agnostics and atheists, and a lot of even like previous believers and stuff like that who've gone into other worlds, you know, they think that Bible is like literally non-provable, it's not factual, it's not historically accurate, and like it's just a nothing but fairy tale story. You know what I mean? Like, they really think that, but they often forget, if they're disregarding the historicity of Bible, the New Testament especially, they have to disregard histories like the great Roman Empire, Alexander the Great. I mean, the list goes on. You know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't make any sense for me. You know, and the tricky stuff is when we get to the level of Kenny. You know, when we chatted about different consciousness and this and that. Like, in the realm of psychology, and in the realm of like Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, those type of level. I mean, that's difficult. That's a difficult realm. But eventually, though, mental realm has a limitation as well. You know what I mean? Because I believe that we're not God, right? We didn't create this reality, right? We didn't, and we're not self-created beings. I know that for 100% factual. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's this whole, you know, theories out there about, you know, consciousness this, consciousness that, like and people's experience fairies. There's even like the illustration of the blind man and the elephant, right? Remember that illustration? Everyone's blind, but they're touching the different parts of the elephant, and then the master storyteller is basically telling you, you're all right, you're just touching the different part. But what about the perspective from the person who's seeing the whole elephant? What about that perspective? Duh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, like I mentioned to you earlier, is that in this world, I think there are subjective things as well as objective things. And these are the distinguishing things that we have to eventually learn to grow and accept. If everything is relative, truth claim, everything, whatever I believe is true in my mind, therefore it's true. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in the physical world, in terms of like, oh, go to bank, and then all of a sudden, let me draw out like $500,000 or $5 million, whatever. The bank's gonna be like, sir, you got like $50 in your bank. You know what I mean? So that doesn't work that way. Like, you can't just all of a sudden, that's why even like the argument of I identify, whatever, it doesn't work. It shoots off in the foot, not even the foot, but in the face, in the head. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, you know? I don't know. In my opinion, I don't even want to say that word, opinion, but I personally really believe that, oh gosh, even that statement. Anyway, I really like to think, oh, okay, I gotta stop myself. Because I really think it's true, regardless of how I feel or believe, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If there is an absolute truth that's out there, it has to be true at all times for all people at all times. You know? Mm-hmm. And that being has made himself known to this creation. It's just unfortunate, throughout many thousands of years, many people from many different countries and tribes have misinterpreted it. You know, they worship sun god, the moon god, there's so many of this like ancient, in the theistic standpoint, we call it the pagan gods, Anyway, yeah. So right now we live in a time where God is nothing but a conceptualization of one's mind can form. That's really scary if you think about it. Oh, I conceptualize God as like this giant Santa Claus in this up in the sky, ho ho ho, bam, dead, sinner, boom, hell, like that type of thing. That's what a lot of people think when they think about God. It's unfortunate. They don't understand that God has so much other aspects to him, They don't understand the structure of the Bible, and because they don't read the Bible, or they don't want to know, they don't even want to know it, or they reject it from the get-go, they have no opportunity to understand who all-powerful, omniscient God is. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's a struggle. It really is. And whenever you talk about the name of Jesus or you talk about God in public places, again, the society has a stronghold, a certain perception about this particular, quote, religion, In the name of Christians, crusaders, I've killed millions of people in the past. Or God in the Old Testament canonized. He wiped out the entire freaking population, How is he moral, How can God be justice or righteous, But they don't understand the full story to that either, God gave them opportunity to repent many times because there are such thing as evil deeds and there are such thing as a sin. So if the people rule out, if they think a sin is a concept, or if evil and good is some sort of an arbitrary spectrum of the lens that human beings can see, then you really are saying that I'm God, that I get to determine what is right and wrong in this world. That's the level we're at, You know what I mean? So,
It's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. God has declared what is good and what is evil, right? And for those who don't believe in God, right, they're saying, like, killing is bad,
Right.
or whatever. They decide, like, yeah, all humans innately know that killing is bad,
Right.
right? But if they don't believe in God, you're saying that they assume that they are God.
Well, because
Essentially.
if they're essentially rain downing judgment without any standard.
Uh-huh.
You see where I'm going at, right? We
Right.
already talked about this. Like any sense of, especially when it comes to morality, like a judgment of what is wrong and what is right. I mean, yes, you can know that without bringing God into the picture, because
Right.
human beings, we have a moral compass that is built in us
Right.
to understand, But when people are saying, okay, well, what is sin, what is evil, and what is good, and okay, why is killing? Like for instance, if they say, okay, murdering is good, someone says that, okay, and then you're gonna be like, okay, Hitler killed over 6 million Jews. How do you justify that? You don't think that's evil? What are they gonna say?
Well, everybody would say it's evil.
They're gonna, well,
Yeah.
no, but some of the quote humanist, people who defend the human flourishing concept, a lot of times those are atheist people. You know that, right? So a lot of atheist people who don't believe in like concept of deity, they're gonna come out and be like, well, humans, we're nothing but essential molecules, and they're gonna say something about like in that sense of like a biological standpoint, like, and that no matter our judgment and perception, it doesn't really matter because ultimately we can reduce our being into an atomic level, But at the same time, others can say, all right, well, you can know morality because of human flourishing, human evolution, Why is it good for humans to evolve continuously, to know these things, to know what is right and wrong? But if you keep on going in this route, they really start to run out of option in terms of like their standard, You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But if there is such thing as a being called God who supersedes all creation and who knew the creation before the creation because he created this world, who understands, who ultimately he himself is the standard of everything because he created everything, you know, like all the human beings and living things in it. I know it sounds like fairy tale story again when I go that route, right? But when I tell you in a biblical, historical route, all of a sudden it makes sense too. You know what I mean? So I get where you are. You know what I mean? There's certain, I say there's certain expression or certain analogy that you don't maybe associate or a little confused with when it comes to like God, I suppose. But you know, I mean, ask me whatever. Like what are you really referring to as like the morality issue here? What's the? Because I know, you know, obviously your wife Sadie, she's go through that
Yeah.
quite a bit.
I mean, in terms of where I'm at,
Yeah.
like, I'm with you on that one, that God has instilled these innate values, good and evil, morality values, and the fact that you are also God's creation in his image. So that obviously I don't want to take that away from God himself, you know? Can that truly apply without if you subtract God, can that still truly apply? I feel like it can still apply though. Because collectively we all understand that we only have one life, right? And that you can take away that one life. I know me as a person, I only have that one life. I wouldn't want anyone to take that away from me. So why would you want to take it away from someone else, right? So there's like this empathy aspect of it too, right?
I think this is like what I would say. For me, like there are four major questions, right, about the existential question: the origin, morality, meaning, and destiny, right? And for me, no matter who you are, where you were born, what environment you were brought up in, religious or non-religious, right? Eventually, you're gonna get to the point where you're gonna question, is this world real? Like, why am I here? And what's my purpose? You know, earlier I mentioned about, okay, there are another 4 different major stages in your life, right? When you're first born and brought into this so-called planet Earth, that's a major point, like your birth, right? Second, transition from child to an adult. Like we all went through this, like every one of us, even our grandparents, our most respected mentors to teachers to father figures to whoever, right? They were all once child and they turn into an adult. That I'm talking about that particular transitional point where from our mental state to physical body, transitioning from a child to an adult, and we're like, shoot.
Like to you, is that like, puberty or is that?
I mean, it's well beyond puberty. I mean, puberty means nothing because your brain's still developing. Like most of the time, people, I'll say like anywhere from past 23 and onwards. You know what I mean? 25. I'll say comfortably like around 25 plus. Like especially in your 30s, right? Would you agree? Most 30 people in their 30s, they start to ask bigger questions like what we're asking, right? Okay. And then third big stage is when people get married, right? That's a huge achievement because it's essentially going from single solo life into, oh my God, I have to like take care of this person, like love them even if I don't.
Yeah, but not
like
everybody gets married.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But so maybe third one is like maybe a little bit it's like subjective, I should say. And then the fourth event takes place when you come to either a spiritual awakening moment or realizing, whoa, there might be more than this physical realm. You know what I mean? And hence, the beginning of the spiritual journey. Would you say that's the same thing? It is the same thing. I'm just explaining a different way for the audience here. So, you know what I mean? So once you understand that, you need to also understand that human body, we're made up of 3 different things. Body, which is universal because that's physical and that's materialistic. And so all the materialists out there, no one can deny, right? We all have body. Second, we have brain and the mind, okay?
Yeah.
Did you know that materialists, especially atheist scientists, right? They're all materialists. So they have a hard time saying mind. They have to always refer to the mind as the brain terminology in that field. Did you know that? Academically too. Or else they get like really shunned on and they have problems afterwards. Because as soon as they recognize that there is a mind, they're acknowledging what's known as an abstract metaphysical world, which science cannot prove, not just yet. You know what I mean? They're still trying
how did they describe it when they're referring to it? Because the existence of the consciousness, you cannot ignore that.
They go rather into the realm of the conscious, you know, and then they start bringing like the pantheism ask and like the
Isn't conscious and mind like the same thing?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really have one without the other. So, if there's a conscious difference between conscious and the mind, personally, I don't think so. But there are some differences in terms of like the terminology that's being used from a different perspective, like scientific or psychology perspective, they'll use the term consciousness, right? But in terms of like average people, they'll just say the word mind. You know, does that make sense? But they're similar, but when you break it down in terms of the perspective of a particular view, scientific view or normal person view or like religious view, it can vary to a degree, okay? And then the third thing, we have the soul and the spirit, which again is very similar, or it feels like it's very similar. But for me, I like to think this way.
You think the soul and the mind is different from each other?
I was just going to get to that. So again, let me restate this. We got a body, that's universal. No matter who you are, what color, race, gender, whatever, blah, 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 right? No one can escape the physical body. And the tricky thing is we have the brain and the mind, but brain is physical, mind is not. Mind is what? Metaphysical, right? And then we have the soul and then the spirit. Spirit and the mind, in my opinion, are more closely related, or the conscious realm are more closely related, and then the soul and the brain are more closely related. Or, I don't know. It's still difficult to say this or that. I don't know if anyone has ever truly figured this out, to be honest with you. I mean, everybody has their thoughts and their studies on different, but who really knows? I don't know. But those things exist. So what I'm trying to say is this: you cannot disregard the mental realm, and if you can't disregard the mental realm, you have to look into the metaphysical realm, which is like the realm of the spiritual, right? How do you reconcile against supernatural things in this world?
Like what?
Do you not understand that terminology? So supernatural are like things like miracles, for example. Right? I don't know, there's a giant tornado sucking up like a bunch of buses and cars, and then God somehow miraculously landed all those vehicles down to the floor or ground. I mean, there's so many miracle stories throughout different people, throughout different countries and tribes and things like that, throughout history. So, I mean, how do you?
I mean, one of them, in my opinion,
yeah.
Right, is the most recent one, the Trump shooting.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like that?
Exactly.
Come on.
So that's like really crazy stuff, I know. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, there isn't just like one or two things throughout the history. There are like thousands of them. And many times they don't really get talked about, they don't really get brought up or mentioned, But hold on, I'm just check the camera one more time. Okay.
So, first of all, you have to elaborate on the soul and the mind, because how are they different? And what is spirit? Because these are like new elements to me that I didn't even think of.
So, in what I understand, and I don't understand it fully either, and which is another great mystery that I'm still trying to figure out. And a lot of my even, church mentors to my dad and a lot of people, how do you explain what a spirit is or what that realm looks like? Unless you really experience that realm, like I'm talking like maybe like you have witnessed either demonic or angelic beings, like it's insanely difficult for people who don't consider this realm to be real, like for me someone like me to explain to them. You know what I mean? But here, let me explain. Mental realm, in my opinion, it exists because we have to be a being of a free will. A free will without having the ability to think and reason, that's not a true free will being. You know what I mean? When God created us, He gave us free will. And now, yes, there is a whole huge mountain, what's called a free will versus determinism. That argument is giant, okay? It's still ongoing. It's been going on for thousands of years, okay? And we can maybe talk about that next time, okay? Because I don't want to go off topic too much. But when it comes to the mind, again, I think the mind is there acting as a source of bridge between the physical body and the spiritual realm. Think about that for a second. Like this is my personal take out of many years of studying this, okay? Right? Again, physical, no one can deny because we're all living in a physical world, right? Duh, right? But then we all also have the mind, but can we read each other's mind? Can anybody read other person's mind? No, you can't. Mind is only exclusive to you, your individual person, as who you are. And sometimes the fact that we don't know why we think certain things, that's a great mystery too. Now, where do thoughts come from, right? When you go into that conscious world, the mind and the psychology world, it's a big rabbit hole, okay? And in my opinion, the spiritual rabbit hole is bigger. But all right, so again, if people don't consider spiritual realm, maybe they rejected or ruled out the concept of good and evil or angels and demons, you know? But then like, how can they all reject all of that and together of morality issue of knowing good and evil too? Like they can't really disregard all of that either, you know what I mean? You see how all these are like intertwined with each other, right? Morality, argument of like good and evil, how do you know if the good and evil exist, or like, or good action versus good deeds type of thing, to like really trying to figure out if the spiritual realm is real, but then in that spiritual realm, many people understand there's only two things, right? Good or bad, or good, evil, evil or good, right? And so that's the spiritual realm of that essentially.
Well, is it so? In your perspective, is there room for gray areas at
Gray
all?
areas, yes, that's a great question.
Because,
I asked
for
that same
example, if
question
someone
too.
is out to kill me,
Yeah.
I defend myself but end up killing him.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
good or evil? You know, you can't really say good or
Yeah,
evil, basically.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really extremely good question, and I think, and I'm very thankful that obviously I'm not the judge, right? I can't imagine what kind of judgment that God would do for that particular scenario. I think there are certain type of cases where we as a society understand killing a innocent baby or throwing an old lady into the river and just bluntly murdering someone for fun is wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's
evil.
That's evil,
Yeah.
and we understand that universal level in all tribe, all race, all
Yeah.
age, etc., right? But then there are gray areas in terms of like, all right, getting abortion, like a girl got raped, and then now she wants to abort the baby because she can't stand the thought of having that baby when
Right.
you know she got that baby in the first place through the rape. You know that's like she can't bear that thought, right?
Or like if a criminal is gonna shoot someone, but I shoot the criminal.
Right.
To protect that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're gonna do you know philosopher Immanuel Kant?
No.
So if you don't know, okay, maybe we can get into that together. Immanuel Kant, and then there's a lot of great philosophers, like obviously the three giants, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. But then like later, as the philosophy developed throughout history, you'll notice like religious philosophers also developed greatly, like Thomas Aquinas in Catholic. I'm sure you know because since you're Catholic, right? He's a huge figure in Catholicism, right? You understand that, right? And like, I mean, they all talk about these gray areas and things like that, but I can't really sit here and recall on what they said because there's a lot going on here, and like, and we had a long day, so I can't really like say exactly what they said, but I would encourage you to like look into that realm because that's the stuff that I question too. I even asked the question such as like, is there such thing as a gray area period between good and evil, if that exists? And I come to a conclusion that I think maybe time could be one of those things. So it's not a completely in a figure of a person, right? Like, because usually people associate with the concept of good and evil, right? But time is neutral towards that. You know, time. Okay, but there's different spectrum of time too. I mean, me and Kenny will talk about that in our next talk. But like, depending on the observer and you know that there's also time dilation, and depending on the space itself, the distance from this so and so to this, there's a time dilation. So time can be very ambiguous depending on who you talk to. So, but I think maybe perhaps time is like a gray area though, between like a good and evil. So I'm not sure. Maybe you can sit with that and then trying to figure out more.
I have no idea what you just said.
Dang it.
I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Like as soon as you introduce time, I'm like,
Time is.
I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
because in order to understand time, because time in the sense like when we live in this physical earth, we feel time as a linear way. Meaning
Right,
it only goes
right.
one direction. That's universally accepted throughout past civilization and so. But in modern physics, we figured out that time is a little bit relative depending on the space of, so like depending on where you are in the spectrum of, even in the planet Earth, right? We're living on the East Coast, but in the West Coast, they're 3 hours behind. England, they're 5
Right.
hours, so and so, and Korea is like 14 hours difference, and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So, in that sense, you know, depending on where you are in that state of between the space to space, time is understood a little bit differently. It's not 1 p.m. here and it's 1 p.m. universally everywhere around the world. What I'm
Right.
trying to say.
But I mean, I feel like regardless, let's
Yeah.
say it's 1 p.m. here and then 5 p.m. in Europe or whatever. We're still living in the
Yeah.
same exact
Yeah.
part if
Yeah.
it's all like linear.
And you know,
right?
you know
We're
why?
still here
Okay, here's
together.
An interesting thing. I want to
We're-
bring this up. Okay, hold on. I want to bring this up. Can you remember that thought? I want to bring this up real quick. Flat Earth versus the round Earth theory debate. Have you ever been introduced to that? You know,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
how I forget. It's either the sun, the Earth rotates around the sun, or the sun rotates around the Earth. I forget which one. I should know this, but I'm forgetting it. But so because of that, you know, yes, we're living in a one collective society, right? Collective world. But because of the way how the sun or the Earth rotates, you know, within that solar system, one part of the world is witnessing nighttime, whereas the other side is witnessing a daytime. You know? But yeah, they're all. But then you can also think of time as in like, okay, even if the time goes in, forward direction, meaning like a linear way, within time we have 3 elements, right? If you look at the time in linear way, okay, are you following? Think of time in linear way, right?
Right.
We have 3 elements of that. We have past, present, and future.
Right.
But past, present, and future are all together simultaneously. Think about that for a second. In a thought of a time being linear, that is, right? Right? Are you following? Because future is coming to us every second as we are sitting here talking.
Well, yeah, that's.
And the present becomes the past all of a sudden, and then past is always following the present, etc. And it's like a 3 train. I don't know.
Yeah.
That
So
are
basically,
together.
this is me,
Yeah.
right? I'm here, and then past, present, and future is just one long thing that just keeps going like this. But I'm static.
Right.
I'm right here. It's just like, you know, just rolling like, and we're all there.
And honestly, that realm, trying to understand time, Einstein, Newton, you know, Galileo, and many other amazing, you know, like the fathers of the physics, essentially, or science, you know, they've been trying to figure it out as well. You know, the general relativity theory to now, like even like the most recent theory of quantum entanglement, right? These are not a light theories or study of concept or whatever like that. This is like this is the realm where a lot of theists are gonna be like, that sounds like so foreign. I mean, so that's why I understand both. You know, that's why I'm trying to bring in all the aspects to it. But at the end, though, you know, physics can't still justify morality. Physics doesn't really necessarily. Physics can talk about, like we talked about
Yeah.
the other day. What's that double slit experiment, right?
Right.
And then there was the other one that we talked
The
about.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah. So we talked about a little bit of multiverse theory, but as I mentioned, all these are amazing in itself, right? These are really brilliant thinkers and concepts and theories, but it doesn't necessarily cover the realm of origin of life, you know? Like how did the whole world start? Because the whole physics world, I mean, physics does try to cover that as well, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm just talking about in that realm of like double slit experiment, et cetera, because double slit experiment, you know, depending on the observer to the
Yeah.
passage of the electron, et cetera, like it's gonna react differently, right? But that doesn't still negate, that doesn't really touch upon a bigger question, which is like the origin. So in my opinion, origin and destiny, like how the world started and how the world's gonna end. Those are the biggest questions, one of the biggest questions. And obviously who is God, etc. That's a giant question too, but you know what I mean? But like sitting here arguing about like multiverse, if that's true or not, like is there like another infinite versions of us that exist in every planet of Earth for infinity universe of like infinity of beyond that, etc. But where does that take you? It doesn't take you anywhere but only in the realm of possibility of infinity. That's it. And then you just drive yourself crazy by thinking all these like potentiality of every outcome, essentially. And then what? You just, again, like I said, there's no landing spot, there's no beginning spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there has to be, the time has to have a beginning though. You know, so when you get into the realm of physicists like Dr. Stephen Myers, William Lane Craig, John Lennox, and James Tour, those giants of the world, they talk about like these things, and I think you should like maybe like, you know, get into that world as well. I think what's important is that you have to understand the figures. Okay, today, right now in our society, we have many views, as I mentioned, right? So many different views, so many figures that represent from those particular views, right? But if you don't understand who those figures are and what they stand for me, it's like, I don't know, you're happy with eating processed food without ever knowing how it's being made. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should know and try to understand these figures who are representing particular view, because they carry agenda. Everybody carries agenda, you know?
Right.
Theist to scientists, atheists, agnostics, they all have some sense of agenda, which is like they are all out there essentially trying to claim their view is right. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's why we have so-called battleground in the realm of the internet, in the realm of the mind, in the realm of the spiritual realm, and there's even like, and when those things get erupted, it becomes a physical war on Earth. Think about that. How much has the history in the past, people gone to the level of physical war and killing and taking over and wiping out certain nations because of what? Religious views and basically saying that their interpretation to this reality is right. That's what it really becomes down to. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's important to study history, try to get into as many studies of subjects as possible, and theology. Don't disregard the whole theistic, you know, argument to this existence. Do not. And science and like I said, everything. Try to do them simultaneously. This is really crucial. This is why whenever I talk to my friends, I'm like, hey, I think I'm seeing something here that many people maybe are missing. We have bits and pieces of the truth from different different areas of life. You know, people are trying to figure out what this truth, right? So-called reality, etc. But has anyone truly considered studying all of them same time, chronologically throughout history? Ooh, that intrigues me right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's sort of where I'm trying to go in that route. And then again,
You don't think they've tried that?
I think so,
Yeah.
but there aren't many people.
Yeah, like
There
for
aren't many
example, expert here, expert there, expert there. Let's all combine and create a map of it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something out there. But for me, I personally haven't found anything.
I wanna
but
see
I'm
that.
Sure, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's something or somebody that exists that are out there. Now, if there is a person who really considers carefully of every single realm and trying to really map out everything, I don't know if that person's like out there doing, you know, because I told my couple of friends, I may have told you before, but I have a huge ambition of making a documentary. Perhaps that's like the biggest documentary of my entire life, my entire purpose.
I feel like it has to exist.
Creating the what's called construct of the world, essentially laying out every structure of creationism to every worldview to historical, like chronological, timeline of human civilization, and going into every major world in terms of their worldview, and then the sub-umbrellas under that, et cetera, and then talking about the hierarchy, the nature, morality, universe, physics, et cetera. I want to know if that can be done, but after the more I study, to be honest with you, I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if there's any single person that can do it by themselves. So I don't think I can do it by myself. I think I can comfortably say that. I'm gonna need a team of filmmakers, philosophers, theists, and scientists. I need to have a little bit of help, you know what I mean? And the fact that, hey, we met, right? And now we become literally best friends within a matter of months.
I don't know, man.
And now you're slowly coming into my world.
So there's a few end results of this entire thing.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know how many options.
All right.
If we were to put together this team and we just dedicate our entire lives, laser focus on this, right?
We might also get tracked down by the government.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we could spend 30.
I'm talking about unraveling the realm of the internet as well, and every supernatural theory that's out there as well too. I'm not just talking about just the surface level stuff of everything. I'm trying to unravel everything to the core level of every perspective.
Yeah, but so the thing is, if we dedicate our lives to this, right?
Yeah.
30, 40 years from now, we may just end up not getting anywhere.
That's true.
Having any result.
That's
so
true.
to me, it's like, do I want to waste my life?
Yeah, but honestly, when you think about it, many philosophers and physicists and religious figures,
did that with their lives.
They did that with their life, exactly.
Yeah, they did that with their lives.
And they couldn't rest.
I don't want to do that. I can't do that.
Come with me. Come with me.
I don't want to do that. It just it sounds very sad.
But Karlo, what else bigger that is out there? Okay, you can make money, like we mentioned, right? We can making money always comes and goes. You know what I mean? Materials can always come and go. Even relationships can come and go, right? But that settlement in your heart to find the truth, what bigger is there outside of that, Karlo?
Well,
think about it, right?
There's this, the experiences, right? To experience the playground that God created for us as humans.
Mm-hmm.
I could see the world, I can do all this, experience everything,
Yeah.
right? I think that's an awesome thing to do with the one life that you have.
True,
Experience everything
true.
that God has to
Yeah.
offer.
I mean that's why in my third video,
yeah.
I like in the intro, little 1 minute thing, I said I want to be human. I want to be able to experience, feel, touch, taste,
Yeah.
smell. I want to
Yeah.
experience everything in terms of
Yeah.
the highest of the highest and the lowest of the lowest.
Yeah, but
I do.
Yeah, that's an option that
Yeah.
we can pursue.
But the thing is, you're gonna experience that naturally. That's the thing. You understand that, right?
Not if
No.
I'm in my room on the internet.
Well, yes.
Chasing.
But editing your life away. Yeah.
No,
But-
not the editing, but trying to figure out every core level of physics, every like trying to find the truth. If I spend 30 years of my life and I don't actually spend the one life that I have traveling the world, creating experiences, like
But
anything that the world
even
has
if you
to offer.
travel and experience new foods, to taste, to tribe, and to the locations, to culture, language, and all that stuff, you're still within that. You're still learning about the creationism essentially.
Yeah.
And so you're still in the realm of wrestling. That's what I'm saying. You can't escape this reality of wrestling about the whole deep core agony and torture of seeking for the ultimate answer,
Right, right,
the existence,
right.
meaning, morality, origin, destiny,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff.
Well,
I don't know
so
if I don't know if you can truly settle unless you really come to face with a being that created this all.
yeah, but isn't that like, so we all come down to that point in our lives at some point, no matter what. We're always going to find out in the end of our lives, like, is it true, is it not true, right? But I don't think it's a good idea to dedicate my entire life, like all the
Yeah, of
philosophers, to dedicate my
Yeah.
whole life trying to figure out this question, and then at the end of my life, I didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think
it's like
I get
you
it.
almost feel like you wasted it.
I know, I get it. But here's my another perspective is that even if you go into that realm and wrestle your whole life away, throw away 40, 50 years of your life, right? Talking about every piece of your hair being white, you know? And trying to figure out what the purpose of life essentially, whatever, and then finding no answer, or you can still live this life and you're still gonna have that bits and pieces of that journey, you know, along the way. You're gonna have it regardless. Even if you try out your hardest and try to figure out and not find it, or if you just like every now and then you have these like moments where like, all right, I'm staying up tonight to figure out a new level of, I don't know, something of knowledge that I didn't know, right? You know what I mean? You're still, my point is that you're still in the bus. The bus is taking you to that destination. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm not certainly disregarding other elements of life, okay? Many people might think like, oh my God, what the heck is wrong with Paul? Like, what did he turn into? Like, he's like all about God topic now. Like, what happened to him? Like, you know, like he did all this and that, like in the past, and like now he's all crazy about like God and spirituality. And like this guy has like gone too far, you know. But I'm not disregarding. Hey, listen, I'm not disregarding like other amazing aspects about the world, you know, making money and like being able to do things like travel around the world and like experiencing like new places and like meeting new people, even like going to festivals and like going to concerts and like, I don't know, just trying something brand new, jump off the sky type of thing, to snorkel in like I don't know, 10,000 feet underwater type of thing, you know. I don't think that's possible, but yeah, you know what I mean. And I'm not disregarding that aspect. I'm not certainly disregarding the whole relationship world of the aspect either. Well, bad English there. I'm not disregarding the realm of the relationship either, or like even friendships, or even like sitting down like this and like both friends sitting down, you know, catching up with life, you know, talking about work and then talking about like God and many more things, you know, like these type of things. And I tell you something really interesting before we go. I know it's getting dark. Let me check the exposure here. I know it's getting dark.
Let's go back to the point that you were making, right? Yeah. So that if you don't come down to the final conclusion of, I'm getting lost in the topic that we're talking about right now, because you said something like, what greater purpose is there? What are you referring to again?
I'm saying, what greater purpose is there other than searching for the truth?
Right, right.
Because that's the ultimate game.
Yeah.
the ultimate game of life is not making money and like being well in this physical world, because we know that there's something beyond this physical world. Most people do now these days. We're not the crazy ones here, okay? This is like
Most
even,
people know.
yeah, even science are admitting there's something beyond just the physical realm.
Really?
Right? Yes. Yeah. Plenty of scientists. Did you know that science, when you look at history of science, did you know that it came from theism? You didn't know that, right? Yeah, I bet you didn't know that because a lot of people don't teach you that, right? Okay, we'll talk about that next time. Okay, let me go back. What other greater purpose than to go on this journey, so-called
Of
spiritual journey,
of finding the truth.
finding out the truth,
Finding out the truth.
of
Yeah.
why you exist, what is the purpose of life, where am I going, how did the world start, etc., etc. What, like, there's nothing beyond that I can think of. I mean, sure, you can work on your degree and your reputation. You can stack up all the money in the world. You can have the biggest mansion. You can own an entire country for all I care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like
that stuff, like,
so
will fade because you're gonna die. You're gonna physically die.
I know. So this
Right?
goes back to the this goes back to that problem that I had already,
Okay.
right? Like if that is if you're saying there's nothing greater than searching for the truth, and then you have all these philosophers who
In terms of in terms of like, obviously the greatest purpose is finding God for me,
Right,
right?
right.
And I think you understand that
But
too.
like-
I'm saying, like, as in a human being who is striving to seek for something beyond the physical achievements and beyond the physical purpose of life. That's what I'm trying to say.
and then so you're going to exert a lot of effort, you're going to spend a lot of your life trying to figure this out, right? That's what I'm battling with, because I feel like what I'm battling with right now, I feel like Jesus already gave you the answer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So, and if I were to spend my life trying to figure out the answer, even though Jesus already gave it to me,
Yeah.
because he already said, this is the truth, this is the way, everything that I say is the truth, and I'm like using my life to put the pieces together, it's almost like I don't believe that. You know what I'm talking about?
No, explain that.
It's like,
If Jesus already gave you the answer,
yeah.
what's
So
confusing about
why would I
more
spend
pieces?
my time trying to figure it out if he already gave me the answer?
Yeah. Well, because you're a human being, you're gonna face what's called doubt. You're gonna face oppositional view, right?
But
Constantly from
isn't-
social media
yeah,
and
but
the world.
Isn't it like you're supposed to believe in me?
Yeah.
You're supposed to believe in what I
Yeah.
say,
Yes.
right?
But are we all not human beings? Are we not all
I
flesh?
mean, yeah, we
We're all
are.
gonna, okay, like tomorrow morning when we go to bed tonight, okay, we wake up tomorrow morning, are we gonna likely be in this state of mind when we wake up right away? Probably not. We're gonna be like, oh, another day, I gotta wake up, and like, you're not even thinking about like spirituality, you're not even thinking about like this deep
I
purpose.
feel like I do.
You do? Wow.
Sometimes I wake up. I mean, it's the algorithm.
Yeah.
When it's already embedded into my day-to-day life when I get on the internet, get on my usual websites.
Yeah.
They present
Yeah.
me
And
with
also-
these
also-
topics,
Also,
and
they're
I'm
listening.
like,
Also, they're listening.
oh my god, I gotta figure
Hey.
out what this topic is about.
They're listening. You know that, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
a real
know.
thing. Yeah, I did a
So-
paper on Edward Snowden back in
Yeah.
2016 or 14.
It's
Yeah.
actually very hard for me to go into my regular life because I'm constantly being
I know.
pulled into the
I know what you
spiritual
mean.
part.
Karlo, okay.
But like,
Hold on.
don't you think?
What you're wrestling with is the spirit man in you who's been revealed a high knowledge, who is having to continuously go down to the low level of a physical task and duty because we have to eat, right? We have, in order to eat, we have to work.
Right.
And then work brings you a lot of stress. And then there's like a whole marriage life, and that there's that whole, difficult things that also brings to your life. And there are other things, right? Like family, friends, and your other social life, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things in this physical world that's gonna like constantly like bring you down. But because you've tasted the truth, because you've tasted God, essentially, that your spirit man continues to want more of him, you know, and because you're not getting that, there's a deep sense of agony and pain that's bringing you. I feel the same way, Karlo, trust me. And some of my friends might call that indoctrination of Christianity. Some of my friends might call that, oh, you've been brainwashed since you were a kid to think that the only worldview in this world is only through the lens of God, etc., blah, blah, blah. But no, they don't understand that people like you and me, we gone, and well, we're still both in the same boat in terms of like, we're both in the category of searching still. Like, as much as we understand God is the ultimate answer and he's the ultimate truth, there are so many worldviews that are constantly in the air.
Yeah.
And that form is through the social media or other people that we meet in public places, to other friends that we know, other loved ones, etc., etc. You know what I mean? So we have to face these things, Karlo. You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. We're all inside the bus, essentially, going to a destination with full of different people, right? We're not just in the bus by ourselves, right? We're in the bus with other people as well.
So what motivates you to find the truth? Like, what is it that motivates you?
I don't want to settle for anything that isn't true. My inner being,
I know.
My inner
But
being desires the truth.
If Jesus says, I am the truth, and you must believe in me to ascend, to inherit the kingdom of God, right? Why even bother? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you hear what I'm saying?
I think I'm starting to understand a little bit more. I know you mentioned this earlier, and it didn't really make sense then, but keep rephrasing it.
Why bother trying to search for the truth if Jesus already said, I am the true way?
Yeah.
You must believe in me, believe in my word, everything that I say.
I mean, only logical thing I can think of, Karlo.
Like, if you keep searching for it, even after he's like explicitly tell you like this is the way, it's almost like, I don't believe you. I'm gonna keep searching.
I know. But thing is, like, we're human beings, you know. Doesn't matter how elite Christian or how elite religious figure you are. The influence that comes from the world in terms of like, maybe the reality isn't what you just thought of, or like, there's always like this, almost like the level of the voice of the evil, like a devil on your shoulder, whispering into your ear, like, is that really true? Is that really true? Are you sure?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So,
what about this?
It sounds to me that you're succumbing to the whisper of evil, though.
But almost everybody deals with this, though.
I know.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you say it's just better to let that go and just believe?
Can I tell you something? So in the New Testament, Paul writes about carrying your cross daily. I mean, that's more talking about in terms of like denying your temptation and your own selfish desire and etc. But it can also, in my opinion, apply to this, what we're talking about, in terms of like the deep wrestling idea of what is truth and etc., right? Like doubt, essentially, right? Like you're battling against doubt. That's what you're ultimately saying. You know what I mean? Because you're saying Jesus already gave us the answer, the truth, and
I'm battling against doubt.
Yeah, because that's ultimately what you're saying. Because you just told me, if you met Jesus, right? How can you doubt him and look into other worldviews? That's what you're asking me, essentially.
Right.
Right. But and in return, I'm telling you that it's because we're human, because we are flawed creatures. Our flesh and spirit is like literally like a gauge. It's like a scale. It's always like constantly at a tug of war with each other all the time. You know what I mean?
But wouldn't you it's not
a wrong thing. It's not a sin to wrestle.
But what if I said that, like, you know what? I don't even want to even explore all these different realms or whatever.
Then don't.
Because I already know that Jesus says this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then that's good. You know, it's not a bad thing necessarily. Sometimes I tell people, okay, there are certain places in this reality or the realm that is classified as forbidden, right? Me and Kenny talked about this.
Like what?
Esoteric teachings like Kabbalion, the
I don't even say it. I don't even want to be curious about it.
You don't want to go to that realm.
Yeah, I don't even want to be curious about it.
Maybe we can talk about it next time, but right now it's getting too late, and
Yeah.
we need to wrap up. Plus, all these people are here,
Yeah.
and they're making too much noise. So I guess they don't really care that we're filming here. Jesus, goodness. Let me check the camera though.
Yeah.
We can continue this at your house, because I don't know.
All right, let's go back to our lower tier life now.
All right.
I'm gonna cut.
Yeah, just cut it. Just cut everything.